Houston once again is trying to find a way to trade another Supermax point guard, but all I care about is, do you guys know how to do the John Wall? If so, leave a comment down below and leave a like as well. Let's get into the video. What's up guys, my name is Brandon, welcome back to the channel, hope you guys are doing well. In this video, we're going to be talking about where I believe John Wall is going to end up at. So in this poll, I asked you guys whether or not you guys wanted to see a John Wall video or not, and if so, where do you think he's going to get traded? And I took a couple of your suggestions, and I kind of also added some of my own as to where I think he's going to end up at. Here are 5 teams I believe John Wall is going to end up at. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into the video. So the report came out that John Wall is going to be out of Houston, that him and the Houston Rockets are looking for mutual partners to send him away from Houston. Now when I first saw this, I thought, why not just buy him out? It's just going to be so much simpler. I know it's a lot of money, but honestly, what is Houston doing with all that dead cap anyways? Nothing. They are building for the future. They're gaining draft capital and gaining assets, so that way they can trade for more draft capital. It doesn't make sense. I understand trading for John Wall for other assets, but to be honest, it's so hard trading a Supermax contract. Trust me, I had a lot of difficulty in this video trying to trade for a Supermax contract in John Wall. So out of the 5 teams that I chose, 2 of them came from you guys, the Banter community. So if you guys want to get involved, all you have to do is subscribe and turn on post notifications so that way you know when we post videos, as well as post stuff to our community as well. Join us in the Banter community and you could be featured in the video. Alright, let's talk about those 5 teams. So the 5 teams that I chose were the Cavs, OKC Thunder, 76ers, Mavs, and Clippers. And the 76ers and Clippers were the most talked about ones in our community poll that I could actually work out a trade for. So with that in mind, let's get into the first trade. So the Philadelphia 76ers are trading Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey for John Wall. So the 76ers get much needed floor spacing, which is something I covered in my Ben Simmons video, so make sure you guys go check that out. Link will be in the description down below. Honestly, an awesome video where I talk about where I think Ben Simmons is going to end up at, so make sure you guys go check that out and then come back to this video. With John Wall, a lot of people are speculating that he could actually fit better than Ben Simmons in Philadelphia, and while I don't believe John Wall can go back to his all-star level form, I do feel like Philadelphia could get the best out of him for the rest of his career as well. And they get a guy that I think honestly could probably help this team a lot more than what Ben Simmons offers. For Houston, they get Ben Simmons, which is kind of ironic because Philadelphia could have traded Ben Simmons for James Harden not too long ago before he got moved to Brooklyn. I mean, this is coming from a guy that didn't want the Heat to trade Tyler Hero for James Harden, so I really can't say anything. But Houston also gets Tyrese Maxey, a young point guard that could probably develop on their team, and they get a guy in Ben Simmons that they can either move on for future assets, or a guy that they can probably build around alongside Jalen Green as well. In this next trade, we are sending John Wall to the Clippers for Eric Bledsoe, Luke Kennard, and Serge Ibaka. For the Clippers, they get a guy that honestly is a much better playmaker and a shot creator in John Wall. And honestly, imagine this lineup with Kawhi in the lineup. This could be a deadly trio that could honestly push the Clippers to title contenders in the next few seasons. For Houston, they're most likely going to get draft compensation for this trade, as well as probably trade assets for any of these guys as well. Luke Kennard and Eric Bledsoe especially, they could probably get some good trade assets or good draft capital for them. And for Serge Ibaka, they just get a contract that they can buy out, because most likely Serge Ibaka does not want to play in Houston and will probably just buy out his contract, so that way he can go to a title contending team. In the next trade, we're sending John Wall to Cleveland for Colin Sexton and Kevin Love. For Cleveland, they get a guy that honestly I think can push him into play-in tournament contention, as well as a guy that can probably mentor Darius Garland, the similar impact that CP3 had to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. For Houston, they get a guy in Kevin Love, which honestly could be moved on for other assets or probably a cheaper buyout option than John Wall is, as well as Colin Sexton, who honestly in my opinion is still a very good point guard, and honestly a backcourt of him and Jalen Green or Kevin Porter Jr. I think could be a very scary backcourt in the years to come. Also with Cleveland, the writing is on the wall that these 2 guys are the most likely out of Cleveland in the future, as Cleveland does not want to pay Colin Sexton, and Kevin Love has been wanting out of Cleveland for a while, and especially with the signing of Lauri Markkanen, I think honestly this is just going to push this trade even further. The only issue I have with this trade is the fact that they're breaking up Sexland, probably the best dynamic duo nickname of all time for an NBA pairing. Alright, do not break up Sexland, Cleveland. Speaking of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, we are sending John Wall to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Derek Favors and Theo Maledon. This trade was honestly the easiest one to make, as Oklahoma has the biggest cap room in the entire NBA with around $34 million. For Oklahoma City, they get a guy that honestly is not going to push them into any play-in tournament contention. However, I still think he's going to be a great mentor for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in this young Oklahoma City team, as well as Oklahoma's going to get another draft compensation on top of this, because most likely Houston's going to ship out a first-round pick in any of these trades, and Sam Presti wants first-round picks. For Houston, they get a young point guard in Theo Maledon that they can build around with Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr., and Derek Favors, who could be a good mentor for Christian Wood. But the big question here is, can John Wall have a similar impact that Chris Paul had in his time at OKC? I don't think so, but let me know in the comment section down below whether you agree or not. In our last and most controversial trade, we are sending John Wall to the Mavericks in exchange for Kristaps Porzingis and Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would the Mavericks trade Kristaps Porzingis? Well, to be honest, he hasn't really been a great co-star for Luka, and honestly, for what they got in Dwight Powell, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Maxi Kleber, I think honestly they have enough shooting around Luka to suffice. John Wall gives him defense in the backcourt, as well as a guy that can also lead the offense like Luka can. So Luka doesn't have to be the main ball distributor. For Houston, they get a great frontcourt partner for Christian Wood in Kristaps Porzingis, and a guy that can also spread the floor, as well as Dorian Finney-Smith, who can be a great defender on this team as well, in addition to any draft capital that gets exchanged between these two teams as well. The question for this trade is, should the Mavericks pull the plug on the Kristaps Porzingis experiment, and could a backcourt of John Wall and Luka Doncic really work in today's NBA? Those 5 teams that could trade for John Wall. Let me know what your favorite was in the comment section down below. How realistic are any of these trades? Would your team pull off another trade for John Wall? Let me know in the comment section down below, because if there's a part 2, you could be featured in the next video. All right, that's gonna be it for me. Take it easy, have a good one, and peace.